In this video, you're going to add a new route that allows users to log out of the application. So they have the ability to log in and generate a new authentication token, and we have code in place to actually verify the authentication tokens. And now it's time to figure out how these can get removed when the user is done. To do this, we will, as I mentioned, just be setting up a single new route over in the user router, and I'm going to add it just below sign up and log in. Right here, we're going to set up a third route related to authentication that will allow a user to log out. Right here, that'll be router.post, and we're going to set up the following URL /users/logout. Now, this particular endpoint is going to require authentication. You have to be authenticated in order to log out, and then we'll set up our callback function, the route handler, and I'll set it up as an async function where we get access to the request and the response. Now, inside of here, what we want to have access to is the particular token that they used when authenticating. Remember, if I have 5 different sessions where I'm logged in, such as for my personal computer, my phone, and my work computer, and I log out of one, I don't want to log out of everything. So I want to target the specific token that was used when they authenticated right here. Now, to get that done, all we're going to do is make a one-line change to auth.js. We are adding the user onto the request so it can be accessed later. Right here, we're just going to add the token on as well. So request.token is going to equal the token that was used right here in the variable above. Now, once we save the program, the other route handlers will have access to that token, and right here we can use it to delete it correctly off of that user profile. Now, the first thing we're going to do, as always, is set up a try-catch statement, and once we have that in place, we can focus on actually removing a given item from that tokens array. And to do this, we'll use the array filter method, which we've used before. Now, the nice thing here is that since we were authenticated, we already have access to the user data. There's no need to fetch it again, because right here, request.user is the user, which means that all I'm going to do is change request.user.tokens, then I'll use the save method to save my changes. Now, right here, we're going to set the tokens array equal to a filtered version of itself. So request.user.tokens.filter, and we'll provide our callback function. Now, right here, we get access to the individual token. Now, remember, that is the object that has a token property and the underscore ID property. And down below, we can figure out what exactly we want to do. And right here, all we're going to do is return true when the token that we're currently looking at isn't the one that was used for authentication. So right here, I'm going to return. We'll look at the current token we are iterating over. Remember, that's an object with the token property, so it's token.token. And we're going to check when it's not equal to the one that was used. That is request.token. If they're not equal, we're going to return true, keeping it in the tokens array. If they are equal, we'll end up returning false, filtering it out and removing it. Now, nothing's going to get saved until we actually call save. So right here, I will use await with request.user.save, and then we can worry about sending that response back. If things went well, all we're going to do is send back a 200 using response.send. If things didn't go well, then we'll go ahead and send back a 500, response.status 500, and right here using send to send that off. Now that we have this in place, users have the ability to log out. Let's go ahead and save our work and make sure it's actually functioning as expected. We're also going to set up a new request over in that task app collection so we can fire this off as often as we need to. So right here in Postman, we're going to add a new request to the task app collection. Right here, I'm going to call this one logout user. I'll go ahead and save that to the collection, and it's showing up down below. I'm going to drag that up above, keeping it organized with my other routes related to authentication. And then once I have that in place, we can open it up and focus on actually customizing it. Now here I want to use the post HTTP method, and I do want to use my environment variable, which we ended up setting up in the last video. Then it was /users/logout. Now for this one, I do need to be logged in, and under authorization, I already have inherent auth from parent showing up, so there's no need to change anything. This request is actually done. So what I'm going to do is save it, and before I fire it off, I'm going to make sure this token is working. So over here, I'll run read profile, and make sure I can actually get the profile. Then I'll log out and try to do this again. So over in the log out request, all I'm going to do is fire it off as is. I get my 200, which is a great sign. And to verify that things are working, I'll try to authenticate with that token once again, over here getting the user's profile. I fire that off, and what do I get? I get a 401 unauthorized. And down below, I have my error message coming from auth.js telling me to please authenticate. So there we go. Once we have that auth middleware in place, we can customize our other routes without a heck of a lot of work. Here we were able to create that log out route pretty easily since we already had access to the token on request.token, and we already had access to the user on request.user. All we had to do was alter the array and save things, sending the response back. Now, what if you wanted to create a variation of this route that allows you to log out of all sessions? So you can see services like Netflix and Gmail that allow you to do this. So I have my Netflix account and I give it out to a bunch of friends. I'm sick of having to share the account, so I log out of all sessions to kick them all out, and I change the password. We can do the same thing here, allowing a given user to log out, wiping all of the tokens instead of just the one they're actually using. And down below, right here, that's going to be your challenge for the video. So your goal is to create a way with a new route to log out of all sessions. You're going to set it up as the following: post/users/logout_all. Then you're going to set up the route handler to wipe the tokens array completely. You'll send back a 200 if it went well, or a 500 if it went poorly, and finally, you'll test your work. So log in as a user 5 or 6 times, make sure you have a few tokens in that tokens array. Use logout_all, and they should all be gone. You can check the database to make sure all of the tokens have been wiped. Take some time to knock that out, test your work, and when you're done, come back and click play. How'd that go? I'll kick things off just up above by setting up a call to router.post the following URL: /users/logout_all. And this one is going to require authentication once again, and then we'll set up our async function right here, request and response, setting up the arrow function body. Now we have to fill out the actual route handler itself, and right here we'll start by using try-catch as we've always done, and then we'll move on to the actual task of wiping the tokens array. Now up above, we have to use filter to filter out specific tokens while leaving others in place, but to wipe everything, all we do is set request.user.tokens equal to an empty array. Then we can go ahead and save those changes. So I will await request.user.save, and that's it. Now we can just send back the appropriate response. I'll use response.send to send back a 200 if things went well, and down below response.status to send back a 500 if the catch block runs. And there we go. That's all it takes to create a new route handler for supporting the ability to log out of all sessions. Now down below, we need to test our work. So what I'm going to do is remove those challenge comments and save the user router. Over inside of Postman, we'll go through the process of creating this new request. Right here, I have logout user. If I click the menu to the side of it, I can actually duplicate this, and then I can create a new request, which I'll rename right here. I'm going to go ahead and call that logout all or something similar. And all we need to do is change the path up above to logout all, and we can save it. Perfect. So now we want to make sure we have a couple of authentication tokens in place. What I'm going to do is log in a few times. So right here, I'll go ahead and log in. I'll log in once, twice, and a third time. And before I actually use logout all, I'll head over to the database and make sure they're all showing up. Over in Robo3T, I have my users collection, which I'll take a moment to refresh. And one of these users should have a bunch of tokens. They only have one. There we go, the first one who has 7 authentication tokens. So we're going to go ahead and log out all and make sure all of those go away. I'll switch back over to Postman, fire this request off. We get our 200, and now I'll go back over to Robo3T and refresh the data. If I expand that first user again, what do I see? I see 0 tokens in the tokens array, which is fantastic. So now users have a log out ability for individual sessions or for all of them. And now users can perform all of the steps in the authentication process. They can sign up, they can log in, they can use their login token, and they can log out. From here, we're going to continue adding more features to the application. In the next video, we're going to learn how we can hide additional data that's getting sent back. Things like the user password and user tokens, which we never want to send back to the client, even if that client is authenticated. All right, let's jump right in to the next one.